folks, and welcome to Typology, the show on which we explore the mystery of the human personality and the great human adventure, all through the lens of the Enneagram. My name is Anthony Skinner, your producer and co-host. So happy to have you here today, folks. We got a great show for you, chock full of great transformational information, heartfelt conversation, and a lot of humor to boot, which is always awesome when you get all three of those together. Talking about Enneagram Type 6, Brad Warren. Brad is, of course, a Nashville-based songwriter, an artist best known as one half of the Warren Brothers. Hey, Brett, to Brother Brad. He's an old friend as well. And Brad's fingerprints are all over modern country music. He's co-written massive songs for artists like Tim McGraw. Case in point, if you're reading this, I love that song. Go do yourself a favor and listen to it if you've never heard it, if you're reading this. Toby Keith, Keith Urban, Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Dierks Bentley, Jason Aldean, and he doesn't stop at country. As if that's not enough, he reaches over into pop and has a cut by none other than Taylor Swift herself. So great songwriter, great guy. Of course, as an artist, the Warren Brothers had multiple Billboard Top 40 hits. But Brad's story isn't just about the hits, isn't just about the songs. He also has a really cool podcast that he hosts called Good Grief, Good God. And it's a podcast created in honor of his son, Sage, who Brad and his wife, Michelle, lost in 2020. You'll want to check that out. It's a space where Brad talks openly and honestly about grief, about recovery, about God, mental and physical health, and the strange journey of staying alive even when life doesn't make sense. This is a real guy, man, and we have a real conversation today. So happy you're here along for the ride with Enneagram Type 6, Brad Warren. And that's it for me, Anthony Skinner. Now, without any further ado, here's the man of the hour, Ian Crum.
Hey, Typology friends, welcome back. We are in the studio today with someone that I have looked forward to speaking to for months. What can I say about Brad Warren except that he is an Enneagram 6. He is a very storied songwriter here in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a new student of the Enneagram, but not a new friend to me. And I'm really excited because actually, Brad, today, when I got your press kit, the picture they have of you on here, I don't mean to tell you this, but it looks like a Rembrandt. It looks like a Rembrandt picture of Jesus. Is that amazing?
Just trying to be more like Jesus. Isn't that the point?
That's funny.
Well, you did it in this little thumbnail picture of you, man. It's
funny.
Right.
It's something
that makes up for the cursing a little bit.
Yeah. Feel free, but this is a safe space, Brad. Bring whatever you got. Man. It's all good. So you and I have multiple points of connection. The principal one being I've been on your podcast, which was super fun. Also, we have a mutual friend in Steve Lee. And as you know, Steve has been incredibly important in my life as a mentor, right? And also, we share a recovery journey. We see each other probably twice a week at a 12-step meeting for alcoholics and drug addicts. And so you're a fellow littermate.
Yes. Littermate. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, you get to be in the box with me, just squirming around with all the other puppies.
Covering our shit, right?
Exactly. Okay, so Anthony and I know you hate this, but we're doing it anyway because we want to. We have to talk about country songs for a second.
All right. I
know. All right. So Anthony and I were just talking before we got on here, because I'm a country music fan of a particular stream. Maybe a little bit more of an Americana roots guy, but I love, legitimate country music, which sometimes feels like it's increasingly hard to find, but that's a separate topic of conversation. Anthony, we were talking about what our favorite iconic country songs were before we got on. What was yours again?
Oh yeah. Well, you asked the question and it sounds, I don't know, too cliche, but he stopped loving her today. I mean, it's like, I just don't know if you get better than that. But I will, an addendum, I would say, I love Willie. So Hello Walls, Angel Flying Too Close to the Ground, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, anything Willie.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
How about
mine
you?
was, mine. I have two. One is obscure and one is super well known. I think an iconic, beautiful country song that I love, and I've seen them. And in fact, Brad, I saw Vince do this with you on stage at the Ryman, which is Go Rest High Up on That Mountain.
So good. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a scary song.
And being a griever now, you have a whole new appreciation for how powerful that song is. And then, he sings like an angel as well.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
a triple threat.
Oh my
Writer,
God.
singer,
Guitar,
player.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, he's the whole package. And he's married to Amy. I mean, the guy's got it made, and he's in the Eagles. I hate this guy.
I know. To top it all off, he's in the Eagles, and it's kind of like, it feels like the young mob guys that one of your guys made it to be a made guy.
Yeah.
Not that Vince is like the rest of us hack songwriters, but he puts himself there. We do kind of feel like brotherhood. We're like, dude, you're in the Eagles. He's like, I know, isn't that crazy? You know?
He's triple made.
Yeah,
He's
really.
triple made.
Yeah, triple made on all fronts.
There's another one. I don't know if we would call it country or not, or Americana. These are sort of false distinctions, I guess, in some ways. But Iris DeMent's song, When My Morning Comes Around, kills me every time I hear it.
I don't know.
Good Lord, that song. Anthony, you know that song, right? Because I think I played it for you.
Oh, yes, you have. Yes. I do.
When My Morning Comes Around.
Yes.
That last verse, when she sings, listen to this, Brad. She sings, when my morning comes around, it's from a new cup I'll be drinking. And for once I won't be thinking there's something wrong with me. And I'll wake up to find that my faults have been forgiven. And that's when I'll start living, when my morning comes around. Woo!
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. I'm a terrible musicologist, by the way.
Are you really?
For a songwriter. I am. I've written too many songs in my life, and I've been into this too long, and I don't even listen to music anymore. Occasionally I do. But
I know that's true. Yeah, I know that's true. I hear that from a lot of songwriters. And there's a part of me that kind of sad when I hear that, because it means that you've kind of been inoculated. But think back to when you were 17, was there, or 20, was there a song that just sort of sat at the summit for you?
When I was 20, I didn't even like country music, but I will say that the song that made my brother and I, and he talks about it when we play shows, want to move to Nashville was I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt.
Oh.
And when we heard that it was written by two Nashville songwriters, it literally kind of went, okay, well, we're moving to Nashville, because didn't know, my brother and I were a songwriting team for those 99% of you that didn't know. And, but when we moved to Nashville, it was literally kind of based on that song and a couple songs. When we're kind of rock and roll Tom Petty guys, and when we heard that piece of music and then a few others like it, we're like, okay, we could fit somewhere in that, and it's closer than New York is to Tampa, so we ran out of gas in Tennessee, and that's kind of why we're here.
That makes sense, because when you listen to your music, like, it colors outside the lines.
It's not super country. Yeah, it's not super country. Never really was.
And I have to say this. Well, one, just back on your point, Ian, and to what you said, Brad, a lot of times if I'm listening to music, it's work to me, because I can't help. It's like I have a friend who's a carpenter, and he's like, I can't walk into a house without looking at the trim, and you just can't shut it off. So for that reason, I listen to a lot of talk radio. But I will say, the first time I heard If You're Reading This, I wish I'd written it, and I probably listened to it 30 times in a row. So
thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah,
from a fellow non-listener of music, it really means a lot. We really had to get one past the goalie, really good goalie. Yeah, so that means a lot. Thank you. Yeah,
beautiful.
That's back when we were listening to music more.
Well, may you have a second innocence and a return to this great love, or find another genre of music that like makes your ears perk up and go happy.
I still love music and I still love to play it and I still love to listen to a song when I already know that it's great. What I don't do anymore is just like sit and listen to a radio station and let someone decide what comes on for me. So yeah, it's and I try to stay current enough to know what's going on. I have a 21-year-old son in the business. He kind of lets me know what's happening so I can check it out every now and then. But I think in some ways, and I don't know about you, Anthony, but I feel like I've written all the way to the wall. It's like the Truman Show of writing, and I've written all the way to the outer wall, and I've bumped it, and I'm headed backwards now.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll find that innocence on the way back. One of my current workarounds is, and sometimes I'll take my youngest daughter, I have a son and 2 daughters, but I'll get in the car. I may or may not light up a cigar, and I just drive for 45 minutes or an hour and just put it on. And it takes me back to the days when you'd actually put a record on and put the needle down and let it go all the way through and then flip it, as opposed to rewind or fast forward or, the world we're in now. Let me ask you, when you do that, are you listening to old music? This nostalgia? Because I do that still. It's just the discovery of new music I suffer from. I default to 60s R&B. Yeah. And so I have to force myself to just put on a new record and just listen top to bottom and not touch anything, So, but yeah, I always find myself going to Al Green, Bill Withers. Those are my staples.
Hey, well, we're going to get to talking about the Enneagram in just a second here, but we cannot let the opportunity to talk about songs to go by, okay? Yeah. So let's talk about Tom Petty for a second, because I was a huge Tom Petty fan. And one of my small claims to fame is that I was good friends with Howie Epstein, who was his bass player,
that's right.
Who, of course, died of a heroin overdose about, 12 years ago, I'm guessing. I don't know. Time flies by so fast now. Oh. But Howie and I were friends throughout the 80s. I saw tons of those shows from Side of Stage, all the shows with Dylan. And even, and I do have a favorite Petty song that actually makes me cry every time I hear it because it reminds me of Howie. Well, because his backgrounds are so awesome. He was such a great singer. Yeah. And, he was about 5'5". He was a little, and he was skinny as a rail. When you went to his house, he lived in Beverly Hills, in a little house in Beverly Hills, because he wasn't a heartbreaker for 20 years, so he was just a side guy, right? I mean, people thought he was a heartbreaker, but it took 20 years. And you go to his house. I'll never forget this. 1982. I'll go to his house, and all that was in his fridge was a garbage bag full of pot, literally. A green hefty bag of pot in the freezer and a can of Italian espresso. They're the only two things.
And you're just going to let them fight it out at some point.
Yeah. But the song that always gets me when I hear it is that song, I Wish You the Best of Everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good night. Man, oh man, that whole record. Anyway, let's get on to the Enneagram. That's why people are listening.
I was just going to say, we got to write with Stan Lynch some and Benmont Tench. Dang. And we went to Benmont's house to write in L.A. And it was, I think those guys lived at 24/7 because he had no less than 25 keyboards just all over his house. Organs, Wurlitzers, and whatever. It was wild. Those guys were quite a talented bunch to find each other.
So I have a memory. I'm now revealing things about myself, but this was in my years when I was misbehaving. And I remember to this day, they were staying at the Park Lane Hotel in Manhattan. And at that time, I can't remember if it was the Limelight or, 54 was probably still around, but it was some club that you needed VIP access to. And Stan Lynch and I remember us running across the street together with Mike Campbell from the Park Lane. I can't remember if we had cab, but I must say we were all heavily under the influence of mood-altering substances of several kinds. Right. And running over and getting into an argument with the guy at the door, trying to convince him that they were members of the Heartbreakers and they had just played at the Garden that night, or at the Meadowlands. I can't remember, but we were anyway, it was a long night that ended poorly for everybody. But I still have a waking memory of watching Stan like running across the street. It was raining. I remember that it was raining and that we were all running to get inside to this club. And those were different days.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Different days. All right. Enneagram 6. You first of all, you just really recently kind of dipped your toes. I know you've heard of the Enneagram for years, but only recently dipped your own toes into figuring out who you are in that world of the Enneagram.
Very much. When you did my podcast, it was kind of the first time. It was the best explanation. My friend Lisa Bolt, who works with us and a bunch of songwriters, is very into it. And so we talked. She would, you're a 6 and you're kind of a 3 and a 9. And I didn't know what she was talking about. And then as I started to do a tiny bit of research on you, it's very interesting. And then when you explained it specifically, I was like, oh, wow, this is a useful tool. And I've since talked with Dave Barnes. I'm sure that you're friends with Dave.
Yeah, we've had Dave on the show before.
And he was telling me how it's kind of improved his relationships to kind of know what somebody's doing and what you can expect. So it made me even more interested, but I have a lot to learn, and I haven't put both legs and the trunk in the water yet, but the toe is firmly in there.
All right. Well, let me just describe 6s like in a concise way. Now, I could literally write a 200-page book on every type. So this is just a paragraph kind of like overview, right? So 6s are people who are always trying to figure out whether things are safe, trustworthy, and likely to hold together. They're very concerned they like certainty. They like predictability. Their minds naturally scan for what could go wrong, not because they're weak or necessarily pessimistic, although they can be pessimistic in an unhealthy space. They can get pessimistic, and if they're really unhealthy, they get paranoid. But because they really care deeply about people, about commitments, and about doing the right thing, right? Now, some 6s respond to fear, which is kind of their big trigger, right? So their deadly sin, we would say, of every type has a deadly sin or a passion. Mm-hmm. And for 6s, it's fear, right? Or some 6s would say anxiety, which is a vague sense of apprehension versus something targeted. It's just vague with them a lot of the time. Some respond by being, cautious and seeking reassurance when they're fearful, and others push back against fear with strength and humor or bravado. But underneath both of those styles is the question, who or what can I really rely on? Now here's a big idea for you. 6s often struggle to trust their own inner voice, and therefore can look to outside sources to reassure them or to provide counsel. So part of their journey is just learning to trust themselves and to operate from a place of faith versus fear. How does that, any bells going off for you as I describe 6s?
I mean, every word you just said. In fact,
really?
Everything you just said. I'm a catastrophist for sure, but I have tried through experience, strength, and hope, but maybe just experience and whatever wisdom comes along with just being in your 50s, to turn the paranoia into trust. And to be in my best place, I just get okay with the catastrophe, and then I'm fine. But I still believe in the catastrophe.
Right.
And I'm a planner. I'm very safe financially, very frugal, know where it's been, invest, no debt kind of thing. My relationships, I want very much clarity and communication so that I know what everyone's doing. I want everyone to be safe. And, as a good alcoholic, the two things I hate the most are change and the way things are right now. So I'm shucking and jiving through that as well. But I mean, literally every word you said, I was like, oh yeah, definitely that, all of it.
Yeah.
Even the two styles you said, I think I actually combine those.
Well, that's actually very interesting because there's probably two ways of thinking in the Enneagram world that go with that those are two distinct styles, but I think they're actually on a continuum between what's called a phobic 6, which is a 6 that actually knows that they're fearful, and a counterphobic 6, which is the 6 that is looks a little bit like an 8, the challenger. But that their aggression is out of fear. It's not out of fearlessness as it is for the 8, right? Like it's more like they're aggressive because they're afraid. So I think
they charge into their fear without even realizing they're afraid.
Yeah, they would rather. So a phobic 6 would rather submit than rebel, and the counterphobic 6 would rather rebel than submit. But it's both a response to fear.
I would rather rebel than submit, and it's funny because I think I could certainly identify as an 8 on the wrong day.
Mm-hmm.
On the wrong unhealthy day, like when if I were to let it loose and not do my things and say my prayers or whatever, get right, and something bad happens, I can certainly go. And by the way, I'm just barely familiar with an 8 because we just talked about it yesterday with some friends, but the kind of the dictator, the challenger, right?
The challenger.
So I'm not afraid of confrontation when I get into that spot. And that's not good.
Well, it depends, right? Like it could be a benefit to not be afraid of confrontation if you can handle it skillfully, right? If you can't handle it skillfully, there's probably good reason to be, have a little trepidation about it. But I wish I was I'm actually terrible with confrontation. Like I just don't like conflict. I withdraw in conflict versus power up and move in. But I wish I could make it better.
How was it you said that you try to convert your, catastrophizing into trust? You said a phrase that was really interesting, and I wanted to know how you did that, if I got it right.
Well, I'll kind of goes into another dimension, but my wife and I lost a son 5 years ago. And at that point, all the catastrophizing I've done came to fruition. Like I was right, right? And so in the wake of that, a relationship with God that was somewhat, raised in a really charismatic church, Pentecostal, just whatever it was, it's not something that's not for me now, but finding God in the right way and learning to trust. Okay, so either I believe what I believe and I can have peace with that, or I can completely go off the deep end and start drinking again, kill myself, ruin everyone else's life. So the fork in the road was very clear for me. And so in the catastrophizing, I went, okay, the worst thing has happened. And here I sit. And if my faith has any merit whatsoever, I'm going to see this child again. And I'm going to get there. And I'd like to have a good answer for what did you do with the rest of your life when that happens. And so I kind of think that's how and by the way, recovery absolutely has not hurt this process. But I kind of feel like that's the part, that's the way that at least I always look at grief as a cannonball in a backpack. It's never getting any lighter. It's always going to be the same weight, but I will get stronger and I will notice it less. So in that way, I think dealing with that grief has caused me to be able to turn a little bit of the catastrophe. Okay, the catastrophe happened. Maybe I was right, but I'm still here. I still have the faith in what I said I did. And so I can either get strong and make that cannonball lighter, or I can let it crush me.
Wow, beautifully said. Yeah, I would imagine in a situation like that perhaps one thought you'd have is the worst has already happened and I'm still here. So what could possibly come along next that would undo me? Like what else is there?
Right.
Yeah. So, sixes are famous for lots of things. We think there are more sixes in the population than any other type. They are well known for loyalty, right? They're very loyal. I mentioned their need to have certainty and safety. And because of that, they sometimes stay a little too loyal to people or things or institutions or belief systems, like too long, because it's the devil they know, right? It's the devil they know, right? So do you have a history of that in your own life, or?
Yeah, probably. I had someone tell me one time, it's okay to outgrow some of your friends. And I thought that was the most horrible thing I'd ever heard. You mean outgrow your friends? What a terrible thing to say. And then 5 years later, I had outgrown the friends they were talking about. And it didn't mean I gotten taller than them or I made more money. It meant that emotionally, if I was going to be healthy, I needed to surround myself with people that were at least attempting to be that. So, yeah, I think I have had a history of that. That would make sense.
Yeah. Do you often rehearse conversations in your head that never happen?
Oh yeah.
You got one? Is there one that you've recently won that we would like to hear about?
My wife will always say, you're rehearsing your trials again. And that is, gosh, I'm trying to think of one specifically. I mean, I think I'm literally doing it all the time. Although I'm caring less, it helps that out a lot. And also, you mentioned humor. I cover up a world of things with humor, and I defer to that. So sometimes I know it can be a negative, but literally, when I start doing that now, I laugh at myself. I'm like, you idiot. And that the humor with myself, when I can point back on and go, you are so full of it, and point it back at myself, it actually kind of helps me get through that moment and stop rehearsing what's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. First of all, I've been in lots of 12-step meetings with you where, and what people don't realize, right, about 12-step meetings is that they watch TV and they see like that show Loudermilk, or they see all these shows where all these meetings are like desperately sad and gloomy. And I'm like, you have no idea the amount of laughter that happens in the rooms of recovery. And I will say you've had some zingers along the way that have been fairly entertaining.
Oh, good. That's helpful.
That said, a lot of times sixes will use humor as a way of ingratiating themselves either with the group or with an authority figure in order to ensure that the group or the authority figure will protect them should they need it. In other words, it's kind of an ingratiating, like, I have value to the group laughs when I tell jokes, therefore I'm safe with the group because they love having me around because I'm a funny dude.
So like an auditioning court jester?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that's actually not a bad way to say it.
Yeah. I have worth, because let me tell you, if something happens and you need somebody to shoot everyone or heal everyone, I'm in trouble. So I better be able to make the room laugh a little bit. If you don't want to hear guitar or a joke, I am seriously the first one to go.
How do you catch yourself when you're hiding through the humor?
I think this might be the moment. I don't know that I've ever caught myself. Laughing at myself is part of that. I think is probably good. And having a disrespect for respectful situations sometimes I think is amazing. And then other times it's just disrespectful. And I'm trying to figure out the difference between that. Ricky Gervais said he and his brother had an agreement many years ago that you don't ever let a joke hit the ground. It's just immoral. Mm-hmm. And so I went with that for many years. And I think I offended people along the way. The joke wasn't that good. And to let it go. So I think that maybe I catch myself later, not in the moment, and go, you know what? I probably fractured a relationship over something I thought was funny. Maybe even it was funny, but it's too far. I've had to put a few dollars in the too far jar. Over humor in the name of that. So, slowly becoming an adult and noticing that don't ever want to hurt anyone. So that being the first line of like mediation between me and my mouth, it's been helpful because at a younger age, if it was funny, I was saying it. I mean, we're going to laugh. And
it's so funny. I've done some. I don't want to paint this as I'm not an expert, but I've done some reading in what's called evolutionary psychology lately. And what evolutionary psychology is trying to get at is why are there certain things that people do that they learn to do and they've done for thousands of years, right? Because it was just part of staying alive, right? So sometimes you might hear somebody who's always a name dropper, right? Like, oh, I know so-and-so, right? Like Howie Epstein. And then
Paul McCartney told me to never name drop.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. Right. But what a person doesn't realize from an evolutionary standpoint is that at some point in our development, naming people that of influence that you were in relationship with actually helped you stay alive, right? It meant that the group would see you as valuable and protect you, because you were well connected, right? And in the same way, that's how humor often works. It's a way of ingratiating or winning over the group so that the group will see you as having a particular value and therefore will protect you should the need arise, right? Like, so that you don't end up as the limping impala at the back of the herd when you're going by the lion.
Right.
So anyway, a rabbi, a priest, and a pastor walk into a bar and...
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that, because I have made, oh, wow, this is enlightening. I have made a point, at least in the last 10 years, to not bring up on an airplane or with someone at the gym that I don't know or whatever, bring up what I do for a living at all. Like, leave it. And I've had some, like, there's this little gym in Florida where I go, and my wife and I are there a lot. And this guy's like, hey, I didn't know you wrote country songs. I've known you for a year and you never said what you did for a living. That's how, and I take pride in that. Like, I'm not going to lead with, okay, I have a cool job or whatever it might be that to get you to that place. And then what you're saying is that I'm just doing the same thing with humor, just not using the name dropping. And I see the merit in what you're saying, because it's true.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm a cool, fun guy. It doesn't matter what I do, right?
Yeah, right. But I guess the thing I would say about what evolutionary psychology has done for me is it has helped me, number one, pay attention to things that I do that I don't like, that I don't actually need to do anymore, because from an evolution standpoint, it's not necessary anymore. I live in a house. I got water. I got food. I can go to the grocery store. I don't have to, I'm not wandering the plains of the Serengeti, like completely exposed to the elements and to all the bad things life can give. And that's kind of what evolutionary psychology sort of exposes. Like, there are still things that we do reflexively out of the limbic brain, right? That is unnecessary, right? Now,
yeah.
So what it does is, though, when I do stupid stuff, is I have a little more grace toward myself. Like, I'm a little bit more like, all right, this is what humans do. It's actually kind of hardwired in. Let's keep working on it. But I don't beat myself up like I used to when I was a younger guy, where it would be like, you're such an idiot. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you said that, And so in that regard, it's just kind of helpful information. And I guess recovery too, though, has helped me to be much more gracious toward myself, which is an accomplishment.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp.
What if the invitation of a new year isn't to become someone else? Maybe it's to stop carrying what was never ours to haul around in the first place. For me, one of the things I'm always working to put down is fear. Fear of disappointing people, fear of getting it wrong, fear that I'm somehow behind. Fear is heavy. And it has a sneaky way of shaping how we show up in relationships, how we make decisions, and how we treat ourselves. Listen, therapy helps you identify what's really going on inside you and gives you a clearer, kinder way forward. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can help you untangle that inner pressure. They match you based on your needs, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch any time. With over 30,000 therapists and more than 5 million people served, you are in capable hands. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/typology podcast. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/typology podcast. Let's be real for a moment. If you're a therapist, you didn't go to grad school dreaming about insurance claims, billing codes, or appointment reminders. You trained to sit with people in their pain, to listen, to help them heal. And yet, here you are, running a small business. That's why I'm grateful for Simple Practice. Simple Practice is an all-in-one EHR designed for therapists. It's HIPAA compliant, high-trust certified, and pulls scheduling, billing, insurance, and client communication into one streamlined system platform, which means fewer tabs open and fewer things slipping through the cracks. Automated reminders help reduce no-shows. Note templates make documentation faster. And suddenly, the admin doesn't feel quite so heavy. And whether you're launching a practice or growing one, Simple Practice also offers credentialing services that handle insurance enrollment for you. That alone can feel like grace. So, if you are ready to simplify the business side of your practice, now is a great time to try Simple Practice. Start with a 7-day free trial, then get 50% off your first 3 months. Just go to simplepractice.com to claim the offer. Again, that's simplepractice.com.
You know, it's funny. I always say, like in recovery meetings, when people are talking about being kinder to yourself, I'm kind enough to myself. I think I'm just fine with being fair to myself. But the truth is, in those ways you're talking about, I shouldn't have said that. Like just mad at the situation. I was really being mad at myself for how I handled that. I should have said this. I could have done this better. There's a little bit in that. And I think what you said too about giving yourself a break is a little bit like what I'm talking about when I say I laugh at myself. When I'm like, first of all, I always talk about, I hated flying before I got sober. Got okay with it when I got sober 20 years ago. When my son died, I pretty much don't care if the plane's doing somersaults, I'm just, doesn't bother me. And every now and then I fly a lot and I'm on a really rough flight and I'll start getting tense and it'll make me laugh at myself and go, you brag about not caring about the plane doing somersaults and here you are holding on to the handrails a little too tight. So I think calling BS on myself is a little bit like, for me at least, giving myself that break. Well, there you go, you human. This is a human interaction. Of course, I'm a little nervous. The plane's flying all over the sky. It's unnatural. And, but a little bit of humor at myself kind of feels like kindness to me because maybe that's the way I communicate with myself.
Well, I think it is. If you think about it, the word humor and humility derive from the same word in etymology, right? In the Latin, right? Humus, H-U-M-U-S, meaning earth or ground. And when the humor is coming from a wholesome place where it's not at the expense of a lot of other people or, in a way that's unhealthy, I think that's an act of humility, right? Like you're actually humbling yourself when you laugh at yourself. And part of that humbling is to say, hey, I'm human. I do dumb shit. And by the way, human also derives from the same word.
Wow.
Let's just sit with that for a minute, can we?
That's pretty good. I was trying to connect the three, and it's. By the way, one of my prerequisites for people is a little bit of a sense of humor. It's hard to deal with someone that doesn't have a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Or a sense of irony. That's the thing, right? Like you ever, when you're around people that you tell a joke and they go, and maybe it's a little sarcastic, and they go, "Was that a joke?" Because they don't have any pickup on irony.
I think that's a lapse. That doesn't. I can't communicate with people that don't get irony and don't have a sense of humor because half of what I say is going to come from that. Oh yeah, that's great. Right? Is it really great?
Yeah. Sometimes the number, and I know you're married to a 1, so I don't know if this is true in your relationship, but if I was going to pick a number that struggled most with irony and sarcasm, it's 1s. But maybe you trained your wife. Maybe you trained your wife.
I was going to say, when I met her, and there were definitely moments where she'd be like, "Hey, don't say that in front of someone." And at some point, I grew up a little bit and curbed it a little, and then she got used to the idea that, it's pretty funny. I'm going to let it go. The show The Office and the "that's what she said" thing. But my wife hates that. But I have her saying it now. Because, you know what I mean? I've worn her down, and it is really low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
and she's, it's going to be hard to get in the back. I mean, it's just some things that she can't help herself, and so I literally have her saying it. And I think that at some point, by the way, that's why marriage is so amazing because you kind of become each other in certain ways. I have gotten more patient, quieter, if you could believe that. I was louder than this before. But there have been times when I look, I'm like, oh my God, I have turned you into me. And usually I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
But the 1 and the 6, tell me how that goes. Cause I'd like some pointers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting because Sixes and ones actually have stuff in common. For example, sixes sometimes get pegged as ones because they have a sort of a commitment to doing things right. Like people always say to me, Germans I know will always say, yeah, Germany's a six country. Like most six, there are a lot of sixes in Germany. Just look at BMWs and Mercedes. Like they're very about precision, doing things correctly, but for different reasons. So you'll see overlapping patterns. Like the one does it because they don't want to make mistakes. They're afraid of making mistakes. They're afraid of being wrong. They're afraid of being criticized. The six was more like, I'm trying to be responsible. And the one would do that too. But the six might be more about safety and security. So the motivation for wanting to be precise would be different between the six and the one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. So it would appear to me from what you're saying and just knowing my wife, a one would kind of do that same thing out of compulsion. And a six perhaps would do it out of the result. Like I literally, when I do things that obsessively, it's because I want the result. Either I want to be in good shape or I want to be financially secure. And her oneness kind of seems like sometimes it just comes out of compulsion.
She can't, or on principle, because it's the right thing to do.
Yes. Principle would be a very big idea.
Yeah. Whereas the six is the motivation is safety, like you said.
Yeah, that's true because she's if you're going to do something, do it right. And she can't do an event or a wedding or help someone out without it being the greatest looking thing ever. And I'm like, just mail it in. But they don't do half-ass very well.
Mm-hmm.
No,
definitely not.
Definitely not.
Does she? One's moved to 4. Does she change a little bit when you go down to Florida and you're like in relax mode?
All right, so describe to me what that would be.
No, she goes to 7 in
7 is what I meant. I'm sorry. Ian, you go.
So what is the 7? Give me the 7 again.
The enthusiast. They let their hair down and they suddenly are more relaxed and a little bit more about, they might start the conga line, which they would never do at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when they're away.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yes. And on a vacation, that hotel room will look like it's been robbed. It's just a mess. her home would never be allowed to look like that, but it's like it looks like Mick Jagger stayed there sometimes when we leave a hotel room.
And that's actually a good sign for a 7, right? For a 1 who's gone to the high side of 7 when they're healthy and not feeling stressed, right?
Yeah.
When they get stressed, they look like unhealthy 4s.
Okay, so explain that to me because that's where I want to nail her later on tonight.
So
I've got some information on you, sister.
Well, they would get depressed, melancholy, a kind of feeling defeated. There would be a kind of a clinginess or neediness that might drip into the equation. Yeah, that it just start to look like a sad artist.
Yeah, she doesn't do that very often, but I think she's just a healthy person, which is so weird to me for a non-alcoholic person to be just healthy,
right?
In general.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's so good to be I think there's a point in a marriage where you kind of cross this meridian, this line, and you kind of look at each other one day after a couple of 10 years and you go, we're still here. We're still doing it. And there's this kind of moment where it's like, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to make it.
We're probably more than halfway through with this.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Hang in there.
Maybe not, but chances are.
Although I was just reading the other day about some guy who'd been married for 60 years and filed for divorce. And I was like, really? 60 years. What's the point, man?
What did she do? Exactly. What did she do? I want to know. At that point, it would have to be the whole Titans defense.
Maybe they were waiting until all the kids were gone. You know what I'm saying? All the kids have passed away. Time to get divorced.
So all the grandkids are gone.
52-year-old kids still living at home. He moved out. That's it. We're done. Wow, 60 years. Gosh.
Oh my gosh. But at their best, 6s and 1s are it's a really powerful sort of combination because the 1s offer 6s steadiness, clarity, in a sense that someone is holding the moral and practical center of the relationship. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And where sixes offer warmth, humor, loyalty, resilience, like sixes are really resilient. Like when you talk about your son, that whole idea of, a backpack with and I got stronger, you're talking about resilience. That's a very six idea, right? And, I think growth happens when ones like soften their perfectionism and it kind of moves into compassion and patience and tolerance. And when sixes are practicing trusting themselves and the relationship instead of testing it, like I bet probably early in relationships in your life, you look back over your life, whatever relationships, there was probably a part of you that was unconsciously testing the relationship to make sure it was solid a lot.
Full time still to this day, yes.
All right, tell me more about that. That's important.
This is an interesting thing that I can do, an unhealthy behavior that I can wind up in. Based on my history as an alcoholic and a misbehavior, I can have a paranoia about anyone close to me drinking alcohol, whether they have a problem or not. Just the presence of it sends me to what I was. And by the way, losing a son to something sends me to that. That is absolutely going to happen to that person tonight, whether it be my wife or a child or whatever. So I can literally get to the point if I'm in an unhealthy spot where on a second glass of wine, I can be assured that she's going to go buy drugs tonight when she's never actually done them before. Right. I know with that second drink, I was going to buy some cocaine.
Yeah, I was about to say, though, I have met your wife, and I have serious doubts of her ever going out to score an 8-ball of Coke, okay? I just don't see that happening.
Don't think so. And that's a little bit further than my mind actually goes. But seriously, I definitely will, the rehearsing of the trials, but really rehearsing completely unrealistic things that might happen because the security component, and it's funny that you brought it up several times that I didn't realize was such a thing in a six, is like I want to know what is going to happen and what's not going to happen, and I want to stay close to home base, emotionally and physically sometimes, just based on like I wouldn't dream of leaving the house on New Year's Eve unless I was working, because right. I don't want to be. I'm going to avoid the mass shooting or whatever is going to go on tonight.
I'm kind of that way though too. I mean, I think, part of that is also as someone in recovery, I always see things like, New Year's Eve is like amateur hour. This is people who don't know how to drink and drive. It's like, they do it once a year. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be part of that. I know how that ends.
I want someone that's practiced this.
Yeah. I don't need someone who's on their first rodeo.
Yeah. Don't try this at home.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. So we've talked about, you grew up in this, Pentecostalism is a creature of its own. I'm sure there are people listening who hail from that tradition, perhaps still participate in. I don't know, not mine. I grew up in just the opposite kind of religious kind of atmosphere as a Catholic. You couldn't get much different. People didn't raise their hands and jump up and down unless they were being electrocuted in my church. So that wasn't, but in your church that, they did it in the men's room. So it's like, it was everywhere. Where did you get a sense of a relationship with God that provides you with that sense of faith that relaxes your need to catastrophize all the time and be hypervigilant, right? Because I think hypervigilance burns you have to burn a lot of calories to keep that going all the time.
Yes. That's a really good question because as a kid, I did not buy into what was going on, or I think I did for a time. And to this day, I would never attend that kind of church necessarily. But I do believe that it is the same Jesus and the same God, misrepresented or not by my mom or whoever it might have been. But I think there was a basis for the faith that held true through my alcoholism and through my drug addiction. And when I needed it, it was the same faith, but maybe there's the faith, the kingdom of God at the top of the hill, and there's all these paths. And I think a lot of people I was in church with were the ones standing at the bottom of the hill going, don't take that path. It's the wrong one. I have a much more generic God, and I mean that in the most respectful and yet positive way. I don't know a lot of the answers, and I don't give a shit. I know a God that wants me to be with him. He's not looking for a way to smite me. He's actually trying to show me the way if I'll shut up and let him. And so I think that the basis of faith I had as a kid was really helpful, even though I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what was there. So when it was time for me to really need Jesus, my introduction wasn't cold. Ooh. So I'm grateful to those, crazy Pentecostals.
Man, you just said that so beautifully because, all right, so, in addition to all my other jobs, right, I've spent a lot of time around churches, right? But, I'm an Episcopalian, which is as far away from being a Pentecostal as you can get your hands on, right? Like and I would say that I went through a long season. In high school, I went to Young Life. I was involved in like youth groups, and they were of an evangelical flavor, although it was in the 1970s. And so evangelicalism back then was a lot more innocent. You know what I mean? It was like,
hippier.
Yeah. Oh, it was like the Jesus movement in California, right? So it was like we were all holding hands singing, hello, darkness, my old friend, and like getting all weepy and stuff, talking about Jesus. It was very sweet.
Some great music back then, by the way. Larry Norman and Randy Stonehill. There's great music.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And Mark Hurd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
I was just listening to a Mark Hurd record the other day, and there was 2 songs on it that I thought, oh my gosh, he sounds like Tom Petty before Tom Petty was Tom Petty. Actually,
Larry Norman did too. Didn't he?
Yeah, that's amazing to me. It's like must have been California or something. I don't know. It was in the water. Yeah. But the thing I was going to say was I run into people, younger people all the time, or even not so young, and they went to conservative or evangelical or Pentecostal churches, and they're deconstructing and they're angry about the religion they grew up in. And all they can do is bad talk the religion they grew up in. Now, I know that there are severe instances like sexual abuse or spiritual abuse where I understand that, right? But at the same time, like when I look back and as I listen to you, even though I don't consider myself in that world anymore, I have a kind of gratitude to it. Like those evangelicals when I was in high school and they saved my life.
Yeah.
Like they loved the crap out of me. And I may look back and not agree with all of their theological and beliefs about God and viewpoints and all that stuff. But what I can say is that they loved me, and I have a real sort of affection and fondness and in my heart, though I don't necessarily say I'm a part of that tribe, any longer.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad at how gracious you were just then.
I have a similar experience, and I love what you just said because when my son died, I had a friend take me to a Wednesday night group. I want to take you to this men's group, and they asked me to tell my story. So sitting in the circle, I told my story like I would maybe at an AA meeting, talked about my son was there, talked about growing up in this crazy church where they spoke in tongues and all this stuff. And not 20 minutes later, this group of men were laying hands on me, speaking in tongues and flopping all over the concrete. And you know what? Oh. I felt God all over me. I cried like a baby. I was touched completely. And it wasn't about their speaking in tongues. It was that this group of men who I just met was spending their entire Wednesday night
loving on you,
going off for me. And I thought, how amazing is that? So whether or not by the way, I left there going, that was so amazing, cried my eyes out. And I was like, I'll never be back. But I still had appreciation for how much so whatever they were feeling, if God strikes me with that, I'll be blabbering crazy messages in the air. I'm cool with what being wrong on that particular one. It's not necessarily for me, but man, those people, like you said, those people saved my life, probably multiple times. The people like that I may not dogmatically agree with right now saved my life. So I love them.
I love the graciousness and the open-heartedness of that. And I wish there was more of that around, But I've been in situations. In fact, Anthony, remember we went on that trip to Montana? We were in Montana or Wyoming. We were fly fishing.
Yeah.
Wyoming. And, we're around a group of guys. There's a guys' weekend, and there's kind of got a spiritual theme going in it. And there's always this, hey, let's get around Bob and say prayers, right? And first of all, I come from a church that's liturgical. We read prayers because if you don't, people pray a long time, and they'll just start going, Father God, Father God, Father God, and I'm like, oh no, we're going to be here for hours. So there's a part of me that immediately just kind of gets a little cynical, right? And then I know that somebody's going to take the mic. The mic, and we're going to get a sermon under the guise of a prayer, and that's going to bum me out. And so now I'm already rehearsing in my mind all the ways that I'm going to hate this experience, right? But I do have the ability to step back from the experience as it's happening and go, you're being a jerk right now, Ian.
That's right.
These guys are just trying. Why don't you just, for once in your life, let go of all your snotty rejecting spirit and just go with the flow of this thing. May not be your thing, but why don't you just show your love for this person by showing up for whatever this is going to be?
Yes. Right? And I'll say that's a new thing for me, and I'm trying. And I'm okay today. Not 10 years ago, by the way, I was that angry, ex-charismatic, whatever. But I'm willing to be wrong. I'm okay with being wrong. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong about I'm not wrong about Jesus, and I'm not wrong about faith and discipline and wisdom. And there's some things that are kind of set in stone, but I'm maybe dogmatically wrong, and everyone may be walking around heaven speaking in tongues right now. I'm cool with that. I just wasn't cool with that 10 years ago. And by the way, here's the next step in this growth pattern. I want to be okay with the people who are absolutely not okay with me where I am. I need to go, okay, that's fine that you're not okay with me. Cool.
I had a great mentor when I was in my 20s, and we were at a meeting like that where they were, pushing on your head, trying to get you to go down, and I was like, no, I'm not going to fake this. So I'm like leaning in, and he leaned over to me because they were doing the same thing to him. He goes, just go down and rest for a while.
True story. I had the full church laying hands on me to get my prayer language, and I'm like 13 years old, and I was hungry and hot, and I'll never forget, it's Tampa, Florida, and the air was like broken in the church. I remember sweating, and I'm just starving. I just started blubbering so they leave me alone. I did, and they cheered like I had just blazed off an Eddie Van Halen. Yes! It was my first Madison Square Garden moment. I just blubbered out some whatever, man. There, he got it.
No, what you really wanted was a box of cracker chips.
Totally. I went into the communion. I was crushing the crackers from the communion. Oh, I was just so hungry. Yeah.
That's funny.
Hey, man, so
I'd love to see the percentages on people that faked it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, one of the things about sixes that we've talked about is this catastrophizing. And so if you wrote a song titled What If, do you think it would be tragic, funny, or both?
I think it would be neither, because I think it would be funny, because I think my point, if you said what if to me right now, and the theme I got for a song in that was, what if I'm wrong and it's all going to be okay? What if I'm wrong and my wife of 30 years is not going to leave me for no reason? You know what I mean? And what if I'm wrong and my children that are here with me are going to be fine? What if I'm wrong and I'm never going to go broke? What if I'm wrong and God is actually really there and I'm going to go to heaven and see my son? Now, I do believe all those things I just said to be true, but the sixth in me, when unhealthy, I think I can definitely go to that, like, well, what if everything is just evil all the time? And knowing that guy is wrong is the most helpful part of this to me. Knowing that the catastrophist is wrong and being able to call him out or laugh at him or however I get to do it that day, that's the most helpful thing to me.
Wow. I was with a therapist the other day. I mean, just over coffee, not because I need it. Right. Actually, it was my therapist. But I was talking about this stream of negative self-commentary. I don't have that all the time like Enneagram 1s do. Like, they have a very powerful inner critic. Does your wife have a big inner critic?
She's quiet about it because but probably, yeah.
Okay. You should ask. Yeah. You should ask.
I'm going to. I should have made notes.
That's a good thing to ask. So, I get it periodically, but it's not continuous, right? And I was talking about these thoughts I was having about myself that were very negative and self-critical. And he said, well, Ian, the problem with you isn't that you have negative self-critical thoughts. It's that you believe them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why not let them go by like a ticker tape, on the stock market? Why don't you just let them go by, right? Instead of grabbing them and assigning truth to them. And the same could be said with catastrophizing, right?
Oh, that's exactly true. And the truth is, I even don't believe them, but yet I still let them affect me as if I believe them. I know things that aren't going to happen. I stress out over things that I know aren't going to happen.
Right. What dig into that for me for a second. Like, what have you thought about why that is so?
I don't know why. I blame it on my mother. I mean, I
say it first. Give us an example.
Okay, here's an example. I'm not, by the way, I'm not rich, but I've been very smart with my money. I'm not going to go broke. I have a total fear of going broke. I'm not going to go broke.
Did you grow up without money?
I mean, my dad was an air traffic controller, but they raised us as poor people. So I think we had a little bit of money because it's a pretty good job, but we lived in a crappy house with crappy cars and crappy clothes. I think it was very spiritually important to my parents that we looked and acted poor. So I definitely grew up without. We didn't have a TV growing up. We weren't allowed to have a television. So maybe it's part of that, but I definitely I'm not going to go broke unless everyone goes broke. But I've been very careful and I'm, conservative with money and whatever, but I have a total fear of going broke. My wife is not going to leave me. And it's way, way, way down in there, like 0.00001%. But I'm like, what if I just came home one day and she just left? I mean, she's not going to do that. She's not even that kind of human being. And it's way down my list of things to be afraid of, but it's the most ridiculous of the things. And those things could both happen. I could go broke. My wife could leave. It's possible. So I don't know where that comes from. Now, there's a lot of things between those two that I can do that about, but those are the two easy ones.
We should talk about that. I think a lot of times the unresolved trauma, maybe little t, not capital T, but gets activated, and we can't actually draw a line between the activating event and why we're thinking this way now. Like, because it could have been 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? Like, and we're just having trouble. Like, why is this coming up? There's another really interesting school of psychology that's called epigenetics. Well, it's not psychology in medicine, but the idea is that sometimes trauma is passed down generationally, and so it actually changes your RNA. Like in your DNA, the RNA portion of your genetics, right, is affected by the trauma of previous generations. So an epigeneticist might say, gee, Brad, or a psychologist working with epigenetics might say, I wonder if they're generationally back, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, somebody carried a lot of trauma around poverty and it ended up in you. But when you experience it, it actually comes up as something like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm doing fine.
That makes perfect sense. And I just kind of remembered something, the fear portion of, I don't know if when you were a kid, we're close to the same age, but there was a movie called The Thief in the Night, and it was about the rapture. And they showed this movie to us as young teens or 12, 13-year-old kids at church, where you just came home from school and your parents were gone because they went to heaven and you didn't. It was completely whacked out movie. And I had nightmares about that movie till I was 30. No kidding. We were raised in a fear culture. The fear of going to hell, it literally pervaded my childhood, and everything was sending you there. Like everything. If you said GD, you were going to hell because that was the unforgivable sin and you just used the Lord's name in vain. It's craziness. There was 10 of those crazy things. If someone that committed suicide was going to hell because the last thing he did was, I completely disagree with those things now. Okay, so I shoo the information away, but I think the fear nature is kind of ingrained in me from a childhood. As you were talking, it kind of hit me. I'm like, oh, that movie, The Thief in the Night.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff that periodically is good to reflect on. Like I wonder, just being curious about things, I wonder where that found root, and like you may not be able to come up with a ironclad answer, but you can sometimes come up with something where it's like, well, this makes sense. And then, it kind of takes the sting out of it, in a way.
Yeah.
Well, we gotta wrap this up, even though I could go on for a long time here. I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you just in closing is a little bit about the recovery journey, because we share that together. I've written a book about the steps and about my recovery journey.
Which is an amazing book, by the way. I read it before I met you, and it's amazing.
Oh, man, thank you. How has working the steps, working a program, being in a recovery community, do you think most supported you as someone who, it sounds like, would say that, anxiety, that vague apprehension of something's going to go wrong, like, how is it, let me put it this way, even more broadly, how have the steps in the program saved your life as an Enneagram 6?
Wow. Okay, and probably more than one way. I feel like, for one thing, physically, I would have died without the steps and getting rid of alcohol, but pushing that to the side is an obvious one. The accountability that doing the steps with a sponsor provides, and then me being the sponsor and having sponsees, and that provides actually even more accountability. But the accountability to another person and having to sit down with another person and do step 5 and then having to make amends for people, that step 5 person is usually your sponsor. But I have now a multitude of people that I have to be accountable to, and they can tell me that I'm full of shit when I'm saying something stupid or I'm having unrealistic fear. And in a loving way, by the way, they can tell me, of course you think that. You're an alcoholic. Go home and tell your wife you love her and thank her for not leaving, you dumbass. Or whatever it might be, the ridiculous thing. And so to me, if I had to go really one thing, one short answer, accountability. That the accountability that provides from me to another human and then back to me is crucial today. I haven't had a drink in 20 years, but it's crucial today for me to stay serene.
Yeah. Wow. Well, listen, Brad Warren, what a conversation. So rich.
Man, so fun. I really enjoyed it.
So I want to say something. I told Anthony before you came on, before we let you in out of the waiting room, that this was going to be a great conversation, and that you were an unusually interesting and also fine human being, and that this was going to be a great conversation, and by golly, thank you for proving me right.
Well, that means a lot, and I think you're one of the smartest people I know. I every time you talk, I want to listen. It's just you're a blessing. So thank you, and thank you, Anthony, for having me. I could have done this for 4 hours. It's probably good that we get off. I'll delve into my wife a little too far. She'll be like, "Hey, leave me out of your shit."
Well, good. Thanks, man. And Anthony, I love you, man.
Same to you. Love you. Thanks for being
everybody.
on, Brad.
Just remember, may you have love, may you have joy, may you have peace, may you have healing, may you have rest. Until next time, see you later.